Right, so first of all, welcome to True Metal. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. I was, this tour is long and tiring. Yesterday we had a day off, so it's cool. It was good to relax a bit. It's great to be back to Milan. So I saw a lot of people out there. Long queue.
Yeah.
Looking forward, and Italy is always very important for me. I had a band here before, Arboreum, and released here a bunch of albums, Plasma Pool and Tormentor back in the days. So it's always great to be back
Great to
to
hear
the
it.
Italian scene. Ave and salute.
Right, so Liturgy of Death, of course, has been out for a few weeks now. We're going to talk about it in a moment, but first of all, have you had the chance to read any reviews or to hear any feedback?
Yeah, it seems like, I think I read one review at least, but I heard it's having a very good feedbacks. That review was awesome, by the way. I think it was something important. I think it was, Kerrang. It was cool. They loved it. And it looks like people like it. The tour has been really successful, I think. We had almost plenty of sold out shows or close to sold out, so it's been going well. But it's a great package too with Marduk and Immolation.
Right. So the last time I interviewed you, it was just a bit longer than a year ago. It was December 2024. And at the time, of course, it was the 40th anniversary tour. I asked you about a new album. You told me it was a bit early to talk about it. So I guess the process for writing and recording has been quite fast.
No. But I never like to talk about before. It's like kind of crystallizing. That's when we started actually to put together all the ideas. Like we've been working on this for like 3 years at least. Okay. Yeah, we started I already found sketches from 3-4 years ago from the same topic, especially with Charles, Goal. I started to work with him on some ideas, and later Morten joined, but really long time ago.
Okay. And of course, you wrote all the lyrics for this album. Is there a set process for you to do that, or is it different every time?
I think it's different every time. I was I came with the idea that it should be only about that, every songs and every lyric and the whole topic, and I just wanted to go deeper into this topic. And I started, like I said, 3-4 years ago already, put together some sketches, and then, I've been working in waves, when I got some inspiration, I write some notes, and at the end, when around last December, I started to put together all the ideas. But I was also inspired by stuff what I was reading. For instance, being here in Italy, I think I read that time, I always read some stuff, normally and mostly spiritual stuff or occult stuff, At that time I was reading Seneca, for instance, the letters from Seneca, and some also Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus. I was into these Western philosophers. They were also affecting me a little bit. Seneca has some great letters about that.
Right. And death is a theme that is central in this album from the very title. You deal about it in a lot of lyrics. I was wondering if it's something that you are more conscious now, as you get older, you think more about it maybe?
Definitely. That's how it came to me. I didn't pick this theme, it's not like I have a list and I just pick, okay, no, let's do that. No. It came to me. It mostly more like the team chose me. I felt like it's my karma, or I don't know what's the word. It's my mission to do this in life. And being almost 55 now, I felt maybe I'm old enough to take this task, and it's a huge monumental task. I can tell you, when I faced with it and it's crystallized, it was I saw it wow, this is gonna be great, and this is a great work, a great challenge. And it's so profound, if you think about it, it's not just about black metal, it's a foundation, of course, of all black metal and kind of extreme metal, but any other dark arts. So literature, philosophies, of course, and mythology and paintings. For instance, I was in the Prado Museum now in Madrid, and I felt proud, but of course I'm nothing to those artists, seriously. I look at these paintings it's impossible. But what I'm trying to say, like at least every second painting was about that or some misery in life, you know. So I felt like it's so legit what we are doing, you know. And sometimes you think like, people think like, yeah, why you guys talk about this negative stuff? It's not, okay, it's negative, but it's really, really a part of our nature, you know, and it's been like that. So yeah, it's something like that it's really, really touched me. I mean, not just Goya or Bosch, but all the rest of the artists there. So, but anything, like even like if you think about architectures of ancients, you know, how much is about that, and like, and the mythologies and even religions who are making these fake deals with that, you know, that's one of the topic of some of the songs, you know, the new album.
Right, and talking about getting older, you said you're gonna be 55 soon, and as I said, I've seen you many times, so I know that you are perfectly capable of delivering a great show. But do you ever think of like, when is the limit? Maybe do you think it's gonna be weird to still do that when I'm gonna be 70, or is it something that?
It's a good question. You know, right now I'm drinking zero. You know, I stopped drinking alcohol, and I take my care of myself. I see. I don't have any plan. I don't have a retirement plan. So I never had any plan like that. I'm kind of like, I think this is my life now. Music. It's been always. I mean, I'm a fan of music too. When I'm home, I'm listening my hi-fi, you know, it's like my hobby. So I listen music. Then I don't listen too much black metal because I come home from a black metal tour, so I listen some other kind of stuff. But even classical music, you know, a lot of Italians and goth rock, industrial techno. But anyway, for instance, I just take this off. I had like I have my solo project, Void of Voices. That's kind of my retire plan. So that's an ambient, dark ambient music, and I'm alone. So I think I'm gonna do that, at least that for the last, as long as my health let me do it, you know. So I think it's a question of my health now. So I started to take care of that a little bit more, and also, you know, my body is my instrument. So, and it's the topic of the album. Like everything is changes all the time. We fade away, so it's time to do. But I feel time to take care of. But I feel pretty good actually, physically too. My voice is in a good shape, and yeah, I think I don't have. I mean, I don't know. I can't see the future, but it looks like I will do it. Pretty, yeah, the rest of my life.
Great to hear. And talking about live, of course, for those who have seen you, they know that you have a very theatrical approach, even in the costumes, the way you paint your face and everything. I've seen some photos of this tour. You have a new costume. I've seen a crown and everything. How important is that to you? To the point I was wondering, like, sometimes we hear of bands losing their equipment while touring. Would you go that far to maybe cancel a show if you didn't have your costume with you? Is it that important, or
I would not cancel a show, but it's very important, of course. I try to take care. I mean, music is first, of course. So no matter what, if I have to go on my street clothes, I will still do it. But it's very important, I think, the costumes, and especially in this music, like Mayhem, for example, because it's not about this world, you know. It's esoteric and it's ritualistic. So, and if you, for me, every show is ritualistic. And if you look at it, like even ancient Egypt, people had makeups, you know, 5,000 years ago, or India, you can see the makeup. Still today, they wear like a dot, which is part of the ancient makeup, you know. I mean, or even look at the tribes, you know, the shamans or whatever. It's, I think, makeup and costume ritual. If you do something ritualistic, which is about the transcendental, which is like beyond our perception, I think it's important, and that helps a lot the show. And I think it helps a lot to put people's and the whole energy in the room and the vibe into the right atmosphere, you know, the right frequency.
Right. And talking about lyrics now, in Ephemeral Eternity, you have part of the lyrics in Hungarian, which is something new for the band. Do you feel like introducing new elements to Mayhem is a risk, or are you confident that people are gonna, you know, understand where you come from and like it? And
I use a little bit already on Diamond, and people liked it. Just a few lines, and here too I dropped actually a few lines. And I think Hungarian is a special language. It's my mother tongue language, but also it's a very old language. Like, I mean, in European standards, it's at least 1,000 years old, and it's also very unique. Like, we don't really have any connection to the Slavian or the Latin or anything. It's kind of like we dropped there. It's interesting. It's very complex language, and I also my bandmates and people inspired me. Yeah, use a little bit. I mean, even I think Hal Hammer told me, like, why don't you sing like a whole song? But I didn't want to do that. But I think a little bit, and also it fits to the atmosphere. Actually, one of that quote I used, it's from the most ancient Hungarian text, like the first written Hungarian thing, which is like Ó Mária, magyar síralom, or halotti beszéd, which means speech for the dead, halotti beszéd. So it was very relevant, to use some words from that.
Great. And in the song, you also have a guest, Garm from Wilver. How did you end up working together?
I mean, he's a great artist. He is one of my best friends from Norway and the music scene, and he is one of the vocalists I really look up on. Like, he is really good. His arrangements have always been inspiring. I've been following him from the early 90s, from the first Arcturus, like the Constellation album. I was already like, holy shit, this is like, who's this guy, I didn't know him that time. We became very good friends. So it was the idea of Morten, who are also good friends, the guitar player. They are also good friends, and I was like, yeah, green light. I mean, it said it's his song, so what I think about to have like in the intro, his a little bit interpretation, and I was like totally up for it, like for sure, it's no problem. And also I've been on some Ulver records, so it's like that, brotherhood.
You're even.
Yeah.
With a band like Mayhem, it's inevitable to have some kind of boundaries in the themes you deal with, the music. Do you ever feel limited by these boundaries, like you'd like to do something else that is sort of not allowed in Mayhem? Or do you feel like that, on the other hand, these boundaries maybe inspire you to stretch your imagination into like what you can do within these boundaries?
I think Mayhem is very a freedom freak, like a very the freedom, artistic freedom is a foundation of the band. But still, we are a metal band. That's already put some limitations. And I mean, if you look at the band's history, like, I don't like when people say, yeah, you guys live on the past. I'm like, really? Look at our albums. We killed ourselves already with like the Grand Declaration of War, went against everything, already in 2000. So definitely it opened also, or the Ordo at KO tour period, when I used all these different customs. I just made it because I wanted to break all the ice and all the boundaries for this band. But still, it's a black metal band, and I have to respect that. I have to respect the history. That's why, hence, I have other projects. So for me, it's very important to balance it out. I mentioned Void of Voices. I have Tormentor, which is also metal, but it's still very different. It's my first band from Hungary from the 80s, and we are still with the same lineup from 87. So it's like also very artistic and kind of abstract, grotesque band, And I also have new projects. I couldn't say no. I always promise myself no more bands, just keep focus. But two things happened. Like, okay, I used to play with Sunn, and I kind of stopped playing with them. Basically, health issues. Like, it started to hurt my ears. It's too loud, and I didn't use protection enough. So I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I have to be careful, but I still miss that scene. So I started something with Igor Cavalera, who is like, of course, you guys know him. He's from Sepultura, the Cavalera Conspiracy. Is like a world-class drummer, but maybe less people know that he's like very good at like modular synthesizers and experimental music. So we started this experimental band, which is like kind of following the step of Sunn, but much more ritualistic, you know, because he thinks like this show should be ritual. I was like, we are so much on the same page. We had some shows and we like, no, it's so good and people liked it so much that we were like, no, we have to continue with that. And there is another thing, another band which is forming now. It's with Rhys Felber from Frontline Assembly, which is pure electronic stuff. And they had a side project, something called Will in the early 90s, which I truly loved. It's like what I miss from industrial, you know, when it's ritualistic, it's occult, you know, and they had that. And then we decided we started to talk, and it was his idea if I could take it over, because their old vocalist was not available anymore. I'm not sure if we will call it Will, because it's not the same lineup, but for sure, for me, this is like, okay, this is extra work, but also I gain a lot. I learned with Sunn too, like when I do something else beside Mayhem, it's kind of balance out my energies, and I got somehow more out of it in total, you know. But I try to keep it done. I also have something with Bernhard Gender from Austria. We played here in North Italy like 2 years ago. That's like, it's called Oozing Earth. You guys welcome to YouTube it or Google it. It's one of the most insane stuff I ever did. It's with Flo Morier from Cryptopsy drummer, and we do like a whole orchestra.
Wow.
And it's crazy. You guys should check. But that is, of course, a project we just play once in 2 years, because to put that together, like 40 musicians, you know, it's really, really heavy logistic. Like they have to come with a truck, and it's like crazy. But we will have a show in 2027 in the spring, I think. So we play time to time that thing. And yeah, and I have guest experiences. Like now I'm doing something called concerto. I hope it's still interesting, you know?
Absolutely.
And this is about Egypt. I'm a big fan of ancient civilizations, been to Egypt many, many times, more than 10 times. And then it's like Stefan Grombeck, like, is the brother of the Keep of Colors guitarist Arn Grombeck, is a really good musician too. And he approached me to do some guest vocals, and then it's cool because I will have my daughter too on my side, so we will sing together. She has also an amazing voice. So I do this kind of stuff, and I've been always doing this. So what is crazy that I even have no idea how many albums I made. I was just thinking about it the other day. Maybe I could write up the full lengths, at least from my main bands, but all these side experiences, like the other day, since I love hi-fi, I just pulled out some vinyls at home. It was like a couple of months ago, but it was so interesting. I just tell it because it's very funny. I put it on. I was listening like, wow, this is cool. That's not bad. It kind of like was a black metal stuff, you know. I even can't remember the name now. I looked at the cover, the artwork. I was like, holy shit, that was me. You know, I was like, wow, this never happens. But it was cool to actually, it was very cool to realize that maybe I would like my own music if that's a kind of cool thing.
Right. It's interesting to hear your experience with Sunn, because I think everyone who has been to a Sunn concert sort of felt the same way, like it's very loud. And I always wonder what happens on stage, what you feel like, and you're telling me it was sort of the same for you.
Extreme. It's more, sometimes it's more louder because we have all this stash, you know, like all that backline. I measure like on stage like 127 dB, for instance. That's like a jet, you know, like a jumbo jet engine, you know, like constant. And the problem was actually, especially in the first years when I started to play with them, I thought like I'm trained for this. I've been doing this all the time. And I started to hear like my ear like started to get damaged, and then I started to use, but it's kind of too late, you know, you have to be very, very careful. So I recommend everyone to be careful if you go to any shows, especially a Sunn show. Don't hesitate to bring some earplugs, and if it hurts, it's better to put it on something, you know. It doesn't worth it, because there's no cure for it.
Right.
So it's dangerous.
I only have one final question.
Yes.
You mentioned Italy earlier. You played in an Italian band. The last time we talked, you told me about how it was here in Milan that you played the first time with Mayhem, like as a guest in, I think, 98. And also another connection is Daniel Valeriani, the artist who did the artwork for this album and the previous one. Do you feel in general like you have a special connection to Italy?
Always, yeah. And even from my childhood, you know, like my parents were so cool. I came from the communist area, you know, and we Hungarians were a little bit more released. We could go to the West once in 3 years in the 70s, 80s. And my parents always saved money for 3 years, and we planned like a little European tour, a trip, and we always came to Italy. I was always amazed. I think it's one of the most beautiful countries, you know, you should be very proud of it. Like the history, you know, that's one thing, but you have the mountains, you have the fields, you have this amazing towns, you know, so cozy, and of course the coast and the volcanoes, you know. I went up once to Stromboli, you know. It was amazing to see like a real explosion. This country is fantastic. And then I had these connections from 98 with the guys of Aborim, you know. I spent a lot of time in Rome, you know. I live with Francesco, you know, close to the Colosseum. Every day we drive by that with his bike, you know. I was very, very important for me. You know, I was much younger than I was like 27, you know. It was like made me a great impact, you know. And definitely Italy affected me. We released here Plasma Pool CDs with Luigi Coppo. He's coming today. He's an old friend of mine. He did underground releases, helped me a lot, you know. He organized this stuff, by the way. So salute to Luigi. And of course, the whole scene of Italy has been always important for me personally.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing all your thoughts, and thank you for taking the time.
Ok, ciao ragazzi, thank you very much. And yeah,
Cool.
grazie mille.